Vermont College had many old legends tied to Carter Hall, but none more persistent than the story about room 122. Nobody wanted that room. It wasn't just the peeling paint or the broken lock, it was the door. Everyone who stayed there said the same thing. The door would scream at night. Not creak, not groan, scream. Emma Barnes didn't believe in ghost stories. She was a transfer student from Houston, tough and practical. When they offered her room 122 for half the usual cost, she took it without hesitation. First few nights were fine. Dusty, sure, and the radiator sounded like a dying cat sometimes, but nothing worse. Then, one Friday night, it started. Emma had just drifted off when she heard it, a low, sharp shriek like rusty metal tearing itself apart. She jolted upright, heart racing. The sound was coming from the door. It shuddered violently in its frame, even though the hallway outside was dead silent. Emma got up, half asleep, and checked, but the hallway was empty. She locked the door again and went back to sleep. But no sooner had she laid down, the door started rattling like someone was trying to tear it off its hinges. And this time, there was whispering underneath the noise, faint, desperate words that she couldn't quite catch. Emma sat up, clutching her phone, ready to call security. The noise stopped, just like that, complete silence. She stayed awake until sunrise. The next day, she asked around. Some of the older students told her the story. Decades ago, a girl named Laura had lived in room 122. Laura had gone missing one stormy night, last seen screaming for help, banging on her door while the other students ignored her, thinking it was a prank. Her body was never found. Some said she was still trapped in that room, banging and screaming to be let out. Emma brushed it off. Ghost stories were just that, stories. But that night, the door screamed again, louder, longer. The hinges trembled so violently she thought they might rip free. And when she finally dared to approach it, through the thin gap under the door, she saw something. Fingers, thin, pale fingers dragging across the floor, scrapping, clawing at the door. Emma stumbled back, heart hammering in her ears. She packed a bag and fled Carter Hall that same night. Later, the maintenance crew found deep scratches on the inside of her door, marks that hadn't been there before. And though Emma moved across campus, sometimes at night she would hear it again, even from a mile away. The scream of a door that would never open in time. Everyone knew not to go near the basement of Carter Hall. It was sealed off with a heavy rusted lock, the kind no student could pick no matter how hard they tried. Rumor had it that back in the 1970s, there was a flood, and two janitors got trapped down there, drowned before anyone could reach them. But no one ever officially confirmed it. Lamb Reynolds, a sophomore journalism major, thought it would make a great story for the college paper. He was curious, too curious. One rainy Friday night, armed with bolt cutters he borrowed from the maintenance shed, Lamb decided to find out what was really behind that door. His roommate Carter tried to talk him out of it. Dude, let it go, Carter warned. Some doors are locked for a reason, but Lamb didn't listen. Around midnight, he crept down the stairwell to the basement. The air grew colder with every step. It smelled of rust, mold, and something else, something sour and rotten. When he reached the bottom, he stood before the massive metal door. He hesitated, just for a moment. Then he snapped the bolt cutters into place. One quick crunch, and the old padlock fell to the floor with a dull clang. The door swung open on its own. Inside was pure darkness. The air hit him like a physical force, cold, wet, heavy. Lamp clicked on his flashlight. The beam barely penetrated the blackness. Broken furniture, water stains, twisted pipes. The basement looked abandoned for decades. He stepped inside, calling out, "Hello?" His voice echoed strangely, as if the room was much larger than it looked. That's when he heard it, the sound of breathing, deep, ragged, just a few feet away. He swung the flashlight wildly, but there was nothing. The breathing grew louder. He tried to run, but the door slammed shut behind him. Lamb screamed, pounding on the metal, but it wouldn't budge. Then he saw it, a shadow pulling itself along the wall, shapeless, dripping blackness. It wasn't walking, it was crawling. He stumbled back, slipping on the wet floor, the flashlight skittering away into the dark. The last thing he heard before he blacked out was a voice right against his ear, rasping, "Stay with us." Lamb was found the next morning by a security guard, lying unconscious just inside the basement door. He transferred colleges 2 weeks later, never told anyone exactly what happened. But ever since that night, the basement door is double locked. And at night, students claim they can hear faint knocking coming from the bottom of the stairs. Sometimes it sounds like someone begging to be let out. Other times, it sounds like they are trying to drag you in. Beerman College sat on the edge of a small town in Texas. One of those places where nothing much ever happened, where the air smelled of dust and old trees, and the buildings looked like they hadn't been touched since the 1960s. The oldest dormitory of campus was Carter Hall. Most students avoided it when they could. It was run down, drafty, and smelled faintly of mildew. But for freshman Jacob Lewis, Carter Hall was the only option he could afford. He was assigned room 214. At first, it seemed fine. The walls were a little cracked and the radiator rattled at night, but Jacob told himself it was just part of the charm. College was supposed to be rough, right? His roommate, Tyler, was a local kid, quiet, kept mostly to himself. But Jacob didn't mind. He liked having space. The weirdness started about a week after they moved in. It began with the lights. Every night around 2 a.m., the overhead light would flicker violently, buzzing so loud it would wake Jacob up. At first, he thought it was just bad wiring. Carter Hall was ancient, after all. But then, things escalated. One night, Jacob woke up to the feeling of someone breathing right next to his face. He shot up in bed, but there was no one there. Tyler was snoring across the room, completely oblivious. Jacob's heart hammered in his chest as he looked around. The room seemed darker than usual. Not the natural kind of darkness, but a heavy, unnatural blackness that clung to the corners of the walls. He didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next day, Jacob asked Tyler about it. Tyler hesitated for a moment, then said, "You ever hear about the kid who died here?" Jacob shook his head. "It was before our time," Tyler continued. "A sophomore named David. They say he got stuck living in this building because he couldn't afford to move out, same as us. One night, he just vanished. No note, no goodbye. Only thing they found was his bed, sheets twisted like he had been fighting something." Jacob laughed it off. Ghost stories, typical college dorm scare tactics. But deep down, something nodded at him. The nights grew worse. Sometimes Jacob would wake up to see a dark figure standing at the foot of his bed. tall, unmoving, featureless. Every time he blinked, it would be a little closer, until it would vanish just as he reached for the lamp. One night, he woke up gasping, his chest burning, his arms pinned to the mattress. It felt like something was sitting on him, crushing the air out of his lungs. Through blurry eyes, he thought he saw a shadow crouched on his chest, whispering something he couldn't understand. Then, suddenly, it was gone. Jacob sat up, drenched in sweat, heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. Tyler, across the room, was wide awake, staring at him with hollow eyes. You saw it too, didn't you? Tyler whispered. After that night, Jacob refused to sleep in room 214. He started crashing on friends' couches, staying out late at the library, anywhere but Carter Hall. One evening, when he went back just to grab some of his stuff, he found the door to room 214 already open. Inside, it was empty. Tyler's things were gone. The bed was stripped bare. The only thing left behind was a single piece of paper tapped to the inside of Jacob's closet. It read, "It lives in the shadows. Don't fall asleep." Jacob transferred to a different dorm the next week. But even now, years after, sometimes when he closes his eyes in a dark room, he feels it. The weight on his chest, the breath against his ear, the low, whispering voice saying things he never wants to understand. And he wonders if whatever lived in Carter Hall ever really let him leave.